Good evening. My name is Jill Nishi, and oh, thanks, Irene. Gosh. And I am a US-Japan Council member, a proud member of the 2010 Japanese American Leadership Delegation, who is here in full force. And during the day, I work in philanthropy just up the street at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I wanted to thank Director Ihara for his comments and your just zealous support for the Japanese American Leadership Delegation program. It has been, I know personally for me, a tremendous experience, and I know I can speak for my colleagues that went on that trip. I think certainly life-changing for many of us. One of the things that we're told when we go to the orientation that Irene sets up for all of us is that part of the commitment to participating on the delegation is to make a commitment to contribute to the U.S.-Japan relationship. And so many of the projects, the initiatives, the people that have spoke today have demonstrated that commitment in so many inspirational ways. The very last day of the trip, Irene has us gather together, reflect on the trip, and ask us about what our commitment will be going forward. And I think in a moment of delirium, weakness, and sleep deprivation, I said to Irene, I think we should take the US-Japan conference out of Washington, D.C., and bring it to Seattle. Again, it was a bit of a fit of desperation to respond to that question. Little did I know I'd be sitting in front of her a few months later in Washington, D.C. in a hotel, and she actually took me up on the offer. And my goodness, 2 years later, here, all of you are here in Seattle. And on behalf of the host committee, I just can't tell you how thrilled we are to have so many of you from around the country and from Japan with us today and hopefully through the weekend. I hope the day has been inspirational, stimulating, and thought-provoking. Many of you have said to me, gosh, it must have been so stressful, such a lot of work to put this on. And, I think about that in the context of the rest of my life. And for those of you that have young children, trying to get them up, dressed, fed, out the door, and get to your meeting by 8:30, that's hard work and stressful. This, in fact, was actually just a pure joy, and in part because of my colleagues on the host committee who are just such highly capable, creative, resourceful people. And I really want to share, all of the generous gratitude that you've all shown me with them as well. In addition, they were just terrific because they would respond to anything I might request, unlike the people that I live with at home, including my dog, who just don't seem to ever hear me. So, Senator, I have a lot of work to do on the domestic tranquility front. So I am working on that. So in all seriousness, though, thank you again to Irene, her just phenomenal staff, Consul General Ota here in Seattle, and his team. It has just been a sheer joy to work with everyone. So I have one last formal duty, and that is to introduce our closing speaker. And it is truly a pleasure to introduce Phyllis Campbell. Phyllis is a national business leader. She serves as the the chairman of JPMorgan Chase for the Pacific Northwest. She formerly has held posts as the Chief Executive Officer for U.S. Bank and for the Seattle Foundation. She also serves on the boards of Alaska Airlines and for Nordstrom. So you definitely want to be flying or shopping with Phyllis. But beyond all of the things that are in print and the accomplishments that she's made in the professional world, I wanted to say on a personal note for those of us who have the joy and pleasure of having Phyllis in our community, that she is such a wonderful role model for all of us. Her brand of both influential and graceful leadership is one that I certainly admire and respect. So please welcome to the podium our final closing speaker, Phyllis Campbell.
Well, thank you so much, but I really just want us to recognize this woman because literally she gives everyone in this room credit, all the Seattle Host Committee, but she is a one-woman tour de force. So I just really want to say this woman is solely responsible for this fantastic day, so please join me in thanking Jill Nishi. Thank you, Jill. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And we are on the home stretch, Henry, so I'm going to leave it up to you to watch the audience for those that won't qualify for the cocktail hour. But I am cognizant that I do stand. I'm the only thing that stands between you and the cocktail hour. So I'd like to just first say, really on behalf of my colleagues, we are so thrilled that you came here to our region and to Seattle. So I just have one message from the Chamber and the Mayor: spend money, okay? But we really do appreciate you being here, and I think the weather and all, but really I hope our warm hearts have really welcomed you to our region. Well, I'm going to be brief in my closing remarks because we've had such a rich day today of so many wonderful speakers and programs, and really to sum it up would be too daunting of a task. So I really just want to return to our theme today, and really I think it's so apropos, the power of one and the impact of many. You know, everything we've heard today amplifies that theme so well. And I just really wanted to kind of change the theme a little bit to fit a couple of recaps that I'd like to do called The Power of People. We've talked a lot about that. And The Power of Partnerships. So I really just, before I do that on the people side, I just want to give you a couple of personal reflections on my JALD trip last year. And I have a number of colleagues here from my class of 2011. You know, growing up myself as a Japanese American in Spokane, Washington, a Sansei, you know, I really did not have connection to my roots. We grew up in primarily a Caucasian mainstream community in Spokane. And my parents, particularly my father's side, were interned, West Coast Japanese Americans were part of the internment. So what I remember most poignantly was my family really saying, you know, don't be so Japanese. And it was not that they were not proud of our heritage. They were. But they were really trying to protect us from any discrimination. And what they always said was, you know, be American, blend in, really be American. And it was so important. And so I really do think about that a lot. And though I made a number of business trips to Japan, as Jill mentioned in my role with the bank, I really never had a chance to really reconnect. So fast forward to the JALD class of 2011, and I think many of my colleagues who are also Sanseis would say the same thing. You know, the entire week was just outstanding. We had a chance, as you know, to really connect with the culture, the government, politics, business, and really all aspects of Japanese society. And for me, it really was a transformational week, from the knowledge side, from the people side. But the thing that really struck me was I really rediscovered my roots through the connection with many wonderful people like you and the Honorable Kono-san and so many other people. And so I think, Ihara-san, that was something that you said about the importance of the program. It really brought home the fact that there is a connection. And then I think the other side that we know now was the end of the day, the last day, was the earthquake and tsunami of our trip. And I can't tell you how, you know, we really didn't know the full impact as we were leaving Japan at the end of our trip. But I think the thing that struck me and that stuck out of my mind was our fearless leader. I was going to the airport with our fearless leader, Irene, and she was already on the phone, as you would know Irene, trying to begin to already raise money, which became the basis for the USJC's Earthquake Relief Fund. So I really do think about the power of people, and I just wanted to bring back one example from the students we heard from just a little bit earlier, because it really did strike me, and this is an example that Ogawa didn't get a chance to tell you a little bit more. When we think about the response to the really one of the worst disasters in Japan, I thought about the story that I heard about recently about Ayaka. And she had a chance to share her personal story, as she did here today, with 3 business leaders in Japan. Akio Toyoda, the chairman of the Toyota Corporation, Mr. Kojima, who's the chairman of Mitsubishi, and Mr. Hasegawa, who's the president of Takeda Pharmaceutical. And they listened to her story, and I really have to say that I was impressed that they were so moved by her story that they not only pledged their personal support, they pledged their company's commitment to support the entire generation of young adults like Ayaka to achieve their own dreams. And so we heard about that so much earlier, but they described it, and I want to quote this, as an effort to support the young doers, the young thinkers, and creators who want to make a difference in the world. And so I think you were moved, as I was when I heard their stories, and agree that was just a wonderful example of the power of people and people-to-people connections. You know, there's so many council members today that have wonderful stories of your own reaching out, and we've heard about many of them today. One of my classmates, Susan Nishi, I think is here, and just as a small example, but something that was important, she reached out to some of the Tomodachi SoftBank leadership graduates and invited them to an Oakland A's game to sit in the luxury box. And so again, whether we see the big actions that have funded all these wonderful programs or some of the smaller actions of things that have made such a difference, it really makes me think about the real power of people-to-people relationships and what a difference it's made in the recovery efforts that we've heard about. So let me just talk briefly about the power of partnerships and then wrap up. You know, as an executive of JPMorgan Chase, I'm fortunate because I do work for a global company. And we do business in 53 countries around the world. And so I see every day from my own vantage point really the importance of connecting for our clients, connecting with my colleagues around the world. And it really does bring home the idea that, you know, we really do need to partner. And here in the state of Washington, I think you heard from our governor this morning, you know, Japan is the #1 trading partner of the state of Washington. And that's very important to us, and we're very conscious of the fact that 1 out of every 3 jobs here in our own state are tied to international trade. And so I do think about really the mission of the U.S.-Japan Council, which is one of the reasons that I'm really involved and so much appreciate the work that Irene and the staff of USJC do. And the theme, as we've heard today, is that the mission of the Council says, you know, we're really about partnerships that are the driving force behind economic growth. And so I think the principles that undergird the Council's mission are really innovation, and we've heard a lot about that today, including our wonderful luncheon speaker. So I really would like to have us think today about that innovation and all the examples we've heard today, whether it's healthcare, energy, technology, so many things that have come together. And I know, Irene, yesterday you shared an example with us about a company called Sapaji that made a connection last year at the U.S.-Japan Council meeting in a partnership with Hitachi to expand its solar thermal energy programs with Hitachi into other countries, including Japan. So collaborations really are the name of the game. And I know Tei Yoshitani, our Port of Seattle director, challenged us in an earlier panel today to take these collaborations now to the next level. So let's think about that and really make that happen. So really to sum it up today, you know, it's been a wonderful day. I hope you agree. And the power of people and the power of partnerships really have already come alive through so many of the examples that we've heard and really through the U.S.-Japan Council. And so I really want to say, though, as we go out of the conference today, you know, I really would encourage us to not take this partnership for granted. You know, the relationships between the countries, as we've heard, has been from generation to generation and over centuries. But I really do feel that we have to work at this. And so I encourage us to think more pointedly about the people-to-people relationships, and I encourage us to think about those collaborations and partnerships to take to the next level. And I really just want to sum up with one of my favorite quotes from Mahatma Gandhi, who said, and I quote, "The difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems." So let us tap our collective capabilities to really enhance this U.S.-Japan relationship and make it thrive through tangible outreach and continued action. Not only will it help our respective countries be stronger, I believe it will serve as a beacon of friendship, civility, hope, and positive outcomes for our entire world. So cheers and kampai.
So I'd like to invite everybody to join us in the foyer for a post-conference reception. We'll hear from Ambassador Fujisaki as well as Secretary Mineta. Just one final note for those of you that are staying through the weekend. On Sunday, the host committee has a kind of Stay Sunday See Seattle tour that will highlight some of our Japanese-American Cultural Center, our Nisei Vets Memorial Hall, and a couple of other wonderful locations. So I believe you can register for that right in the foyer if you are interested. I believe the tour buses will be leaving at 9 o'clock on Sunday. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the reception this evening.